Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Laud Times podcast. Shout out Dennis for the audio production there. We're working on some things as the pod continues to grow and we make some time for it. Really grateful for that, Dennis. But thank you guys for tuning in and watching our show or listening to it at a certain point on our Spotify and Apple accounts. Make sure you follow us there. Besides watching this live. But let's check in with everybody. So, Alfred, what's up, my friend? How are you?
Doing good, man. Not too happy with yesterday's result, but I'm glad I was there with you, enjoyed the game. So we're excited to be talking about it today.
Absolutely. It was a good atmosphere. Not the sellout that we probably expected, but still really good attendance. But glad we were able to experience that together. And even the game and the atmosphere that we experienced before the game. So, Lou, you were there as well. How are you, my friend?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be here. It's been a roller coaster type of a day. I think you've been the highlight of the day, Arnoldo, with your Glenn Davis interview on ESPN radio. So, shout out for that, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Had a ton of fun there. So, shout out Mr. Glenn Davis for his Soccer Matters show. He's done a lot of, man. He wants to push soccer more in the city, and having me on and other guests that he's had on to cover different aspects of soccer, it's really good to see. So shout out to him for his content and what he does on the radio. Edgar, Double L Nation, how are you, my friend?
What's up, guys? Doing good out here in North Texas. Couldn't make the game yesterday, but we will be there this weekend.
We're excited to see you and hanging out with you before the game as well. So looking forward to that. And lastly, Mr. Producer himself, Dennis. We got what can he do, Lou? He's got the voice to get on shows. He's got a podcast. Now he's doing music. Now he's producing. What else you got going on?
That guy never ceases to amaze us, man. He can do it all. Boyish good looks, cavalier, suave, debonair. The adjectives just continue.
I can't stand you. This episode is unofficially sponsored by the bowl of gooey butter cake ice cream by Bluebell that I just ate once again.
I thought you were going to say Head and Shoulders because of your smooth hair.
Bro, I'm thinning. My hair is thinning. What are you talking about with Head and Shoulders?
Beef. Bro, they don't need to know that.
He's the Colgate Smile sponsor we've been looking for.
No, not with these teeth. Oh, no. I have the worst teeth of all five of us. Good grief.
Yo, you didn't try the new cookies and cream cheesecake flavor by Bluebell?
I did, and I was not that impressed.
Oh, that sucks.
And those are two of my favorite things, but I was not impressed.
Well, let's get to talking about what we're here for, fellas, because we got a ton to talk about. Really, really packed heavy pod that we were going to have today, even all week, because we're doing a sort of a special week with what Tigres week has going on in Houston. So we wanted to tag along to that and produce a little bit more content and, content outside of what we typically do as far as covering the team and, following the results and analysis. And we wanted to provide special episodes, but with the news breaking out today, with Siboldi and everything that happened, we never really had a closure, and we probably, maybe we didn't forget, but we got a little bit past it because of the results and the new idea that we were behind Paunovic and what he was bringing on to the club. So we'll start there, fellas. We can't disregard it. A guy that was super important to the club level as a player, documentary level, because I couldn't wrap myself as I'm coming to the conclusion of finishing the docuseries. I'm one more episode away. And throughout the time, that I've been watching, it's like I couldn't even come to terms that he was not our coach anymore with how much he's on there and the championship run being described. And, the talk about the ascenso when, in 1990, was it 7 or 6? Lou, help me out.
96. Well, 96 was when we went down and then came right back up.
So it just like if you didn't watch the team now, you would think that he was still the coach. And so after experiencing that, I see the tweet that was sent in the group thread on Twitter, and I had to pull over, man. I knew it was long because it was 4 images, so I had to pull over. So I pulled over in the parking lot as I was on my way home, and I read it, and I couldn't believe it. for someone to really go out of his way and state the things that he stated on that press release that he did individually, waiting, after legal advice told him to wait and see if the club would take a stance on it. Never did. We never got the closure from the club on why he departed, and we probably would have never gotten that closure until probably this came about. So now we're waiting in response as to what the club might have. It might not have it. They might truly ignore it with the way that things have been handled, or we could see a big shakeup in our club, more so at the board level, because the person implicated is Mauricio Culebro, like we know runs the club at the presidential level, and then Mauricio Donner, who is the liaison between Cemex and the Consejo Deportivo, who runs Tigres, and somebody's got to go. Who's it going to be? Culebro, maybe both, maybe neither. So we're going to get into that now and get y'all's impressions and, your thoughts on the whole debacle as far as, the closure that we didn't get and the reactions that you guys had as the news got broken today. So we'll start with Alfred. What do you think about Mr. Siboldi?
All right, guys. It's just so hard to swallow. This guy Siboldi, he's an idol to us all. I mean, from his time as being a goalkeeper back in the era when things weren't that good, to what he did over the last year with our team. And like you mentioned, how he shows up. He's pretty much a star in our documentary. He's in every single episode. Nothing but gratefulness, for what he did, for what he's done for the club. And you can actually see it and sense it in his words and what he expressed today, that, he was hurt, by what happened, by what transpired. So I can't help but believe him in a way, but just the way I analyze it is that he's not actually saying, hey, things are fabricated. He's pretty much saying there isn't any proof, or I wasn't shown enough proof, or the proof that they said that existed wasn't shown to me. So even though there's that little bit of disbelief in Mauricio Culebro and Mauricio Donet, and whether or not they could have made all of this up, just we can't figure out what the reason behind that would be. Like, why would you do that? Why would you create such a fallacy, to kick somebody out? Why not just part ways? And if it was true, then maybe there's a reason behind why they have not shown that proof. So it's still all too awkward, all too difficult to try to side with one side or another until everything, or until, at least until Tigres actually comes about and declares something, gives us something meaningful, not just what happened in the past was just, hey, we parted ways with Siboldi, here's Paunovic. That wasn't the right way. So I hope that they do give us an answer sooner rather than later, because this is it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up in their faces if they don't.
For sure. Lou, you sort of broke down the tweet to our English speakers based on the release of Siboldi. How fitting, Sean, who was the person who asked for the cliff notes on the press release that Siboldi gave. Talk to me about the actual statement that he gave out and the implications stated, and then also your thoughts and analysis behind it.
So basically, he put out a statement saying that on June 2nd, he received an invitation for breakfast with two members of the front office and was asked to bring Miguel Fuentes along, which is his assistant. And he shows up in the afternoon because they had training practice. So he shows up later than expected, and they meet. But upon arrival, he's told that Miguel Fuentes has to stay back with two of the lawyers, which the lawyers, that was unexpected. He wasn't expected to see them there. So Miguel Fuentes stays back with the lawyers, and Siboldi goes off with Mauricio Doiner and Mauricio Culebro. And then when they get to some kind of room or private space that they were in, Doiner basically tells Siboldi, hey, we found evidence, or we have evidence of wrongdoing by Miguel Fuentes, basically leaking information regarding formations, tactical plan, that sort of stuff to the rival team. It doesn't mention it by name, but I'm assuming it's Monterrey, and that at some point he was taking money for this information, and not only that, but he was betting against our club in some casino, unnamed casino. So Siboldi obviously very upset, shocked by the news. At one point, he mentions that he couldn't believe it that Miguel Fuentes would do something like that because the club actually did help Miguel Fuentes during his illness, the issues he had with his health, and so he was just in shock. He couldn't believe it. Went home, told the family, and at some point, his wife said, uh, "Did they show you the proof?" And he said, "No, I just took them at their word. I didn't ask to see it." So they meet up on June 4th once again, and once they meet, he says, "Okay, I'm going to need to see the proof." Siboldi tells this to Doener, and apparently Doener got very upset. He got loud, said, "Take us at our word. We don't need to show you anything." But in the conversation, I guess Siboldi was being forceful. They pulled out some kind of black and white documentation, looked to be some kind of screenshots of some sort. And Siboldi just basically replied, "Well, that looks like something my 17-year-old could have done." And so that led Siboldi to believe that this is all fabricated, that there is no evidence against Miguel Fuentes for any kind of wrongdoing, and that the information that the press got was leaked by to the press by our front office, basically Mauricio Culebro and Doener leaking this information out and basically ruining his image and his staff's image. And then he mentions at the end of his statement that the front office should have defended him and his staff because there was no wrongdoing, no proof of any wrongdoing. And then also goes on to mention the issue with Tatiana Flores, how that got leaked out and they didn't do anything to defend Tatiana Flores either, which is a really valid point. And to me, after reading that, you know, there's only been one person that's been transparent this whole time, and it's been Siboldi. We've gotten nothing out of the front office. It's a terrible look, man. I mean, it's frustrating. On top of everything else that's gone wrong with the signings and everything else that's not working, functioning properly. A lot of people leaving the institution. The lady that ran the social media account announced a few days ago that she was leaving. Just got the news that Chima Ruiz didn't get renewed. So there's just a lot of turmoil right now. Some shady business. It doesn't look good. As Alfred said, there's only two things that could possibly be happening. One, Miguel Fuentes did leak information to Monterrey, gave them information regarding our formation, the way we were going to set up, tactics, lineups, and he went and against our club in a casino and took money, right? In which case, if he did that, why is the front office not moving forward with this
legally?
Yeah, that's something where the federation needs to get involved. You're talking about a cheating scandal, and that's not something that you keep to yourself. That you say, "Hey, let's just blow it under the rug." Yeah, Rayados cheated. One of our guys, basically screwed us over. You don't sweep that under the rug. You have to go and do something about it so it gets corrected. And according to what the press was saying, it was Directiva from Rayados getting this information, right? That's one scenario. Why is the front office not doing it? I don't know. The other scenario is this is all a lie. It's all one giant lie. None of this happened. Fuentes didn't do this. Stuff got fabricated. In which case, who leaked the information to the press, right? Another bad look, because if it got leaked to the press, it was likely from our staff. So what are we doing? We're looking like a bunch of clowns either way. If Fuentes did cheat and Rayados did cheat, we're looking like a bunch of clowns for protecting Rayados, right? Who are we protecting? Who bought the information? who benefits from all this? If it's false, why are you letting these people take the fall for it? Who leaked the information? Somebody needs to take the fall for this, because either scenario looks terrible on us.
And in theory, if, per se, the information that, was actual true, then it would make sense now why Sancho is no longer with the squad and he's no longer the sporting director or the general manager of the team. Not saying that that's obviously true, but I mean, it has now a sense of that somebody had to leave if that was the case. But you hit a point where, you can't wrap that or push that under the rug and, not follow through with it. It can't be disregarded because there's got to be legal aspects taken into place. So we're now in a position where, the fan base can be sort of divided, right? People were asking for Siboldi to leave, but I think ultimately the fan base has love for Siboldi, even though in the past there's been, also scenarios where he didn't leave clubs in the very best way. And, but we never really got actual information from that. So it's just a tough spot, man. With everything going on and everything that's going on with the club, Leagues Cup, Summer Cup, the new signing of Joaquin, Tigres Week, and all the initiatives that the team is doing here in the Space City. It's just not the best moment for Tigres. We're getting our team name is getting slandered through the press, which is also very, very hypocritical, because the amount of attacks and, social media attacks that I've seen online today, and I'm not justifying no one's behavior. I don't think it's correct, but you would think that it was on the same level of a murder that happened in a game not too long ago at a Tijuana versus Guadalajara game. And people weren't very outspoken about the conversation or the events that happened there. So it's just a bad look in general that, Tigres is involved in another scandalous exit with another coach. Tuca Ferretti also had a bad exit. Miguel Herrera, for what it's worth, had a bad exit. Diego Coca had a bad exit, even though, he went to the national team. The way that it was announced that he was no longer going to be with the club, and specifically Mauricio Culebro, that, Tigres is not going to be a second priority to anybody. When they had the press conference, they announced Chima Ruiz. So bad things have been happening, and to move forward there has to be some change. So what those changes will be, extremely difficult to know at the moment, but we know that something's gotta give. Dennis, impressions about the events that happened today and the Siboldi press release.
Siboldi Gate.
Siboldi Gate.
Well, my first impression is our conversation that we had on the phone earlier, because you pulled over and I guess you read it and then immediately called me. That's just what I assume happened. So that was pretty fun to kind of process that, like, in the few minutes after. The only thing that I have to say is that I believe him. Lou kind of just hit it on the head. Why has the club not said anything about it, but Siboldi's had to do all the legwork PR-wise? That to me is really telling. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but it speaks badly of the club, and it's not a good time. It really isn't, and it puts a stain on what's been a really good image of our team, of our institution for so long now. So I don't have too much to add. It's just stinks, and I wish it was not this way.
Edgar, Double O Nation, anything you would like to add? And then where do we go forward from this as a club, as as a team, and as a fan base?
So I do think if Siboldi were lying, or if he were guilty of anything, let's say that if he or Miguel Fuentes were guilty of anything, why would he come out and speak about it now? That's kind of just where my perspective is. Why would he take the initiative to attempt to clear his name or to get attention from, the fans and the press? So I believe him for now. And I think that the club owes us a statement. I think the first time around, I was one of the few people that was extremely frustrated with just how the whole situation was handled. We got nothing. Just I think Culebro's like only statement in a press conference was, we decided that he was no longer the best for the club and we're going in a different direction. That was it. Something along the lines of that was all that we were given. But it's not right. And even if that were the case, that's not how you manage it. That's not. There's a lot of things wrong with it, and I think we are going to get more information in some way, shape, or form. But the club has to address it. There's no hiding behind Tigres Week, behind Leagues Cup, behind another signing. Why is it that we're getting more information on press for this week or on Joaquin rather than what's been going on with the office?
Absolutely. Do we think that the team is going to take a stance in the immediate future, Alfred?
Well, I have a quick question. I mean, whenever we have players that are having bad performances, we question their performances and we immediately start thinking about who could take their spot, right? I think it's a long time coming. Throughout the whole tenure of Culebro, there's been some instances where he's gotten it right, but there's probably been more instances where he's gotten it wrong. And at a level of wrong that just is really bad looking for our team. Like you said, I mean, we had a good image over the last, 10 years, the past presidency. I think, even with the whole Tuca thing, I mean, they left in a good way. And to me, it just seems like, somebody's head needs to fall. And if we were talking about players, we would be singling them out. And if we want to single somebody out here, it's gotta be Culebro. He's the president of the team, of the club. And, I think that Cemex as an institution that backs our team, as professional as they are, I think that they should be seriously considering replacing Culebro at this moment because of this whole situation.
Just to piggyback on what Alfred's saying, man, there used to be a point where, in I think culturally, in a lot of ways too, in Nuevo León, your word should matter, right? And that's one thing that Culebro has shown, is that his word doesn't mean jack, right? They supposedly had a pre-agreement with Tuca to continue his tenure. That didn't go well, right? They backed out of it. And according to everything I've read about Siboldi, is that Siboldi had already signed the contract. They were just waiting on the signatures from the front office, and then they backed out of it. If it ends up being true that they backed out and their only excuse and their way out was to feed garbage to the media, they need to clean house over there. And I'm not just talking Culebro, but I mean completely clean house, because it's a terrible look for us. It's not who we need to be as an institution, right? Just a bunch of shady jokers that have no word. I mean, that's not who we are. That doesn't represent the fan base. And so at some point, they need to come clean. If Siboldi and Fuentes are lying, show the proof. Clear your name, because reputation matters as well. And if we're getting dragged through the media and dragged through social media, that's not right either. So if Siboldi and Fuentes are lying, clear your name. Go ahead and bring out the proof and let's go. Otherwise, admit your mistake. Say, hey, we took the wrong approach, and then heads need to roll.
Yeah. What do we think this? I mean, obviously they didn't want him long term as a coach, and we can go back a little bit in the timeline of the last couple of years. And it's talked about in the docuseries with and Culebro is the one that talks about it with Piojo Herrera. They wanted to bring somebody that can continue the success for the immediate term, which was take advantage of the squad, somebody that had been proven successful at the domestic level in Mexico. And so you bring him on board, even though you're changing the style and identity of the team. Doesn't work out because of decisions that he made and things that he said to the press. And then we get Diego Coca, who then leaves to the national team. retracts on his word that he's going to stay at Tigres long term. And so then I think at that point, I think even before I guess getting into the Chima era, there had to be some contact made with Paunovic, as Chima was exiting, or after the final that was lost. There had to be something or some point of contact where Paunovic was an option in between those points. And I don't think, or at least this is my theory, I don't think that it was coming to fruition. And maybe it was before that he even arrived at Chivas. And so once you bring in Siboldi is a guy that can sort of calm down the fan base with everything that happened in that season that we won the championship with the 3 coaching changes. Somebody that the fan base loves, somebody who had won a championship, who had some success, besides one title in the Liguillas. You bring him in and, sort of calms the waters. Probably, wasn't expecting that championship. And we've talked about that numerous amounts of times, that championship was pulled off by the players and the emotional aspect and the leadership that Siboldi brought and inspired the players with. And so wasn't expecting, but he's earned his credit, right? You got to give him a chance. He gets his 1-year contract, takes you back to another final, back-to-back final, which he loses, and then has good success. And so I think that the Paunovic maybe came about as an opportunity, and it opened up where he was going to be available, and that's what the board wanted in the long term to instill a project with. And we've seen it, right? Like some of the words that Paunovic has chosen in terms of the player selection that he's had, and he's here for the team, and players got to respect that what he's doing, and players got to be on board. It's a guy that possibly you can sort of push a fault on to some of the player exits that are going to naturally happen in the next 6 months to a year. So I think that in theory, in my opinion, I could be wrong, I think it was just a timing aspect that played out in the Directiva's favor, and they didn't really have a way out with Siboldi when they already had agreed to terms with him. And maybe they didn't really have the word or the decency and the courtesy and the braveness to say to his face that, hey, we do not want a longer period with you, and you were never the long-term option, but you earned your success, and we gave you the amount of time, but now this guy opened up who we want in the long-term project. So I don't know what you guys think about that. I could be wrong. I know I mumbled that a little bit and jumbled it, but ultimately I think that the Paunovic situation was already sort of prearranged.
Well, if that's the case, then fire everybody.
For real.
Just full stop. You don't treat. This is not even just
club legend like that.
Well, and it's not even a club legend. It's just a human being sort of thing.
Yeah.
You don't treat anybody like that in the workplace. I'm sorry. That's very unprofessional, very childish. And the fact that I'm saying about this about our club is bad, or our front office is bad, but that's not okay. And we want better. We demand better than that. So if that is all true, if that's what they wanted in the first place, then that's bullcrap.
What other scenario could it be?
Exactly. So
what Dennis is saying in the workplace, right? They demand a 2-week notice for people that are leaving, and
bingo.
And what I'm hearing is they gave Chima Ruiz 3 days. 3 days notice.
Yeah, how can you? Okay,
how unprofessional is that? Guy,
hold on, let's get to that.
Since the mid-90s.
How are you not going to pay the guy? That's unacceptable. You can't just not pay anybody late or ever. What are we doing?
You're on mute,
Alfred.
So he's been working without a check the last 2 weeks.
That's not okay. I'm sorry. That's unprofessional.
There's been 2 reporters that said that he did get 3 days notice. Edu Torres said he didn't get any notice. I'm gonna not side with Edu. I'm gonna give the Directiva the benefit of the doubt and say he knew 3 days in advance, but 3 days in advance is nothing. I mean, you can't treat your workers like that. It's just, like I said, it's just a bad look, man. I mean, something needs to be done.
And the thing is, man, and Edgar, who's commenting on our podcast right now. How different are Mexico laws to U.S. laws? I don't have that answer, my friend, but I could ask
Not
one of
really
my
a law
attorney friends.
issue. It's a more of a decency issue,
Yeah,
a
it's a
professionalism
yeah.
issue. Where you can't treat your workers like that because let's say Pauno did come in. How's Pauno assured that he's not going to get treated the same or worse than Siboldi was?
Just
Yeah,
ethic.
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm also not a workplace professional international expert when it comes to labor laws, but essentially when you are someone who is under contract, whether you're here in the States or here in Mexico, there's a time frame and a policy that has to be mutually respected. At least there's a contract, similar to how, I don't know, you sign cell phone contracts here or something else. I don't know, crap and a half that's difficult to get out of. Gym memberships here are very difficult to get out of. But anyways, there should have been a better coordination of how that was handled. If you're not going to renew that contract, or if you're going to rescind the contract, there has to be some sort of written notice for sure.
Absolutely.
Why is it that was not, physically handed to him in his inbox? Like, hey, here's a record of us rescinding your contract or not renewing it. The guy was unaware. Whether it was 3 days or 2 weeks, that's not acceptable.
There's this feeling that we're just flying by the seat of our pants, right? Nothing's planned, nothing's coordinated, everything's just happening, and the directiva is like in disarray. There's this sense of chaos going on right now. This entire offseason's been like that.
And Siboldi is another man on the list of bad/sad, mismanaged, poor handling of departures from the club as far as what they've accomplished, either as a player or as a coach. So now it's Siboldi. In past times, it was Gaitan, Lucas Lobos, Tomas Boy, Tuca Ferretti. Some of our best players that have played at this club or coached at the club didn't leave in a proper way, in a recognizable way that, they, for everything that they accomplished, should have been rewarded or treated better. So it's kind of tough. I know it's also circumstantial because different boards were at different times with different players and coaching staff. So, but it just adds, man, it's a terrible situation because as a club, like we've mentioned, that's not what it represents us as a fan base. And we were here to talk about all the positives that Tigres was taken on by, immersing itself in this Leagues Cup and Summer Cup with the women's squad. My interview today on a segment that I had on ESPN radio, like, nothing but positive things to talk about my club and everything that, made me fall in love with the club and everything that they've accomplished in the time of success that they've gained, to be tainted by all this and just a poor decision, whether it was true or not, just the management aspect has been not up to par for what us Tigres fans give to our club each game and game out.
Agreed.
There's no hiding anymore either. Like,
No.
there needs to be some sort of statement. Something's got to be said. Like, they may try and shield around the fact that we have, a massive game this weekend against, Suarez and Busquets and those guys, but you can't hide behind that. Like, something's got to be done. I don't care that it's a big week.
Yeah. Well, let's go talk about some stuff that's happening this week. Just kind of lighten up the mood a little bit and change the perspective and, get all the people. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. All 138 of you guys, thank you for tuning in at the moment and following our takes and analysis of everything that's happening with their club at the moment, specifically with the Siboldi gate that's going on. So Tigres week, Tigres took on an initiative to promote its brand here in Houston. It held a press conference at the Mexican consulate last Friday. Hugo Ayala was there, who's the sporting director for Tigres Femenil, as well as Carlos Valenzuela, who's the vice president of operations and marketing for the club, and some of the media locally that was there, myself included, and Glenn Davis, who I was on his show today, who covers soccer in the entire city of Houston with his show Soccer Matters. And it was exciting. It was personally for me, it was, very cool to be so close to the team that I truly love and, have been following for such a long time, and to be there in an initiative in the town that you live in now in the United States where they're not from. It was really cool to take that in and, follow along with what Tigres is looking to do. Some of the things that Carlos Valenzuela stated was that Tigres wants to, work itself to being a top 3 club in Mexico. Obviously, the success they've had on the field has put them in the conversation with the other Cuatro Grandes that are considered in Mexico. But the target is for, Tigres to become a top 3 club. And, that's obviously behind Chivas and America. And so with this initiative, it kicks off, a lot of events that are happening this week in the city of Houston. The first one that happened, which was yesterday, the Houston Dash versus Tigres Femenil. But I want to go over really quickly for the people who are, watching this locally, as far as, are in the city of Houston who may be interested in what the team is holding as far as what they're calling Tigres Week here in Houston. So like I mentioned, game Dash versus Tigres kicked it all off after the press conference, which was Sunday, yesterday. Monday, today, they were present at the Houston Texans training camp. We know that they formed an alliance and a partnership with the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans were at El Volcan for the draft, and one of our guys who is part of our English Tigres community, Edgar, who, faithful fan, watches our stuff and, shares our content on social media. He was selected and asked to go do the draft pick from El Volcan, and eventually also got some tickets to the game. So shout out to him for watching. And so that's what we got today, as well as Tigres held a soccer clinic from 6 to 9 p.m. for the youth in our city. Tomorrow, Tuesday, they are having a hospital visit from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then it's going to be followed by a second soccer clinic session that's going to be going on from 6 to 9 p.m. And that's also, again, for the youth to be, taken into the Tigres academies or introduced to see if they have that interest to develop. Wednesday, we have the Puebla versus Tigres game at 8:30, kicking off the Leagues Cup. And prior to that, they're going to have a fan zone where they're going to have some of the championship trophies that we've won, as well as giveaways. And, they typically do this when they do come to Houston. It's usually located between, closer to the 59 freeway, where next to Little Woodrow's, there's a little dead end street that leads you right into the stadium on the west side of the stadium. So look out for the fan zone prior to the game. Make sure you attend early. Wear your jersey. They're expected to wear their new blue kit to, launch after it went officially launched last week. And then Thursday, they have what is called the Genuine World Cup that begins at 5 p.m. And there's our team that is part of the Paralympic team that participates. And so some bigger teams are going to take place, like Atletico Madrid is involved, Inter Miami. I think Barcelona is also involved, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tigres will have a training session at 6:30 p.m. Usually that happens at Dynamo Sports Complex or Houston Sports Complex down on 288 South. It's not obviously open to the public, but you can obviously attend and watch from outside the gates and the fencing. And usually players, as they leave, have autographs, or take the time to do autographs as they head back to the hotel. So that is going on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Friday, the team is having a meet and greet. So the meet and greet is a dinámica, or a social media interaction with the fan base. They're asking people to send a picture and share their story and what the picture represents, or their, of how you became a fan, essentially. And then they're going to select people to attend this meet and greet. I assume it's going to be at the hotel they're staying at, and that's going to be from 1 to 2 p.m. So make sure you follow all the details on the club website in order to see the actual rules for participation and probably getting selected. Friday, they're also hosting a 4v4 mini cup for youth to adult ages. That's going to be going on from 9 to 5 p.m. They're trying to bring out and see the competition and the Space City. If you love soccer, they're hosting a 4v4 cup. And like I said, that's going to be going on from 9 to 5 p.m. Followed by that, we have an Inter Miami pre-match party at none other than our biggest soccer bar in Houston, next to the Shell Energy Stadium where the Dynamo and Dash play. Pitch 25, 6 to 8 p.m. So the club is asking for fans to come and hang out. They just said that there'll be surprises. I'm sure there's going to be giveaways. I'm sure the Tiger is going to be there, our mascot. So plan to be there 6 to 8 p.m. if you're in the Space City in Houston to attend that pre-match party. I know I'll be there. And then Saturday, fan zone from 4 to 6 p.m. and Tigres versus Miami at 7 p.m. to conclude what is a great initiative, I think, on the club that, they're taking advantage of the opportunity to promote their brand, engage with the fan base that we have here in Houston, and really, bring them closer to the club by hosting different, events and also catering to different types of fans, right? There's Tigres fans who follow the Houston Texans. So that was a great opportunity. There's a lot of people that play. So the 4v4 Cup is going to be a great opportunity. The Paralympics also attracts a different type of audience. And so that's going to be great. The training session, obviously, people want to get their autographs. The pre-match party for people who like to get their party on and get some drinks and hang out, that's going to be a really good time as well. And then obviously concluding with just 2 games and then obviously the dash that happened yesterday. Thoughts on Tigres week and what it represents to be here in the United States?
I'm jealous because I'm not from Houston. I'll say it. I think it's awesome. And I think, of course, Houston is the Tigres hub. There's no question about it. Every time there's a friendly at the Houston Dynamo Stadium, it's always packed. Versus here in North Texas, Frisco, it's at least 50%. But the truth is, Houston is our second home, and I think it's awesome. And I love all of the effort that has been put into this entire week. And I think it's great. If you have the opportunity, please go check out those events.
To be fair, that drive to Frisco is brutal. So
It is.
It's not fun.
Like, I'm in Arlington, and I have to take tolls to get out there if I don't want to make it an hour and a half.
That's the worst part about y'all's area. Too many tolls.
Yeah.
Facts.
Dennis, thoughts on Tigres week?
I feel like we lost Alfred. I feel like they could have explained it better. Like when the press release came out, I was still confused by some of the stuff, especially the meet and greet. Like it wasn't that clear that it was supposed to be like online only, at least to me. Then I kind of had to do some digging and stuff like that. But it's great, obviously. Like I'm not saying, oh, it's bad. Like all this stuff is bad for us. No, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. But I felt like it could have been communicated better. And I feel like it could have been communicated earlier. I think the timing of it was a little too late.
Yeah, I could see how that may be a point of improvement. Lou?
I love it, man. I think, for those of us who lived through, the dark moments of the club and being up here in the States and not having a connection with the club, it's great to finally see the club coming often to the big cities in Texas, having the opportunity to watch them live. The meet and greets that I've been able to go to, they've been great. Just being able to get autographs, take photos with the players. And I hope the club continues to do it. Like we mentioned, it probably ended up being a sour start to this whole thing because of the news we've received. But there's still an opportunity to kind of make it all better the rest of the week, and really loving the matchups that we're getting. I mean, getting to play against some big names, also like Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Busquets, those type of players. Also, it makes it exciting
You mean
for
dinosaurs?
people who are not necessarily fans of either club. You can still go see some former legends, even though they're dinosaurs, according to Edgar.
Absolutely. Alfred, you made it back, my friend. Thoughts on Tigres week and the initiative that the team has started?
Well, I don't know if anybody else already mentioned it, but you mentioned it in your interview today at ESPN Radio. I think that it's great that they're taking advantage of just all the data community that is present here in Texas. We know those of us who live here, those of us who travel here among our cities, Dallas, Austin, even San Antonio, Houston, that the data community is huge here. So, just the fact that they were able to pick or select, a city here so that we could at least have a better chance at being a local team or have more fan base attending these games of the Leagues Cup. I think it was a completely spot on decision, and obviously money wise it made sense to them. Yeah. But for us, it's great. I mean, we don't have to travel long distances, which we love to travel to go see our team in other cities. But if we can have them here close, it's a lot better, especially when you have these back-to-back games. So I'm excited for it. I was there yesterday with you to watch Tigres Femenil. I'll be there on Wednesday. I'll be there on Saturday supporting my team.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Why don't we start there? Talk a little bit about Las Amazonas, going back, negative, positive, negative. We like to move it around here on the Laud Times podcast and, shuffle it up. Lou, we'll start with you. Actually, I'm going to take it back to Alfred, if you don't mind, because he spent a little time with me yesterday. If you guys don't know this about Louis, or short for Lou, Tigres English, he was a difficult man to find in person when I first started engaging with him online. It took me quite a bit of years to finally meet him. And we were at the same game yesterday, and I didn't get to see him. Besides, when I asked him to stand up as he was 2 sections away, so I could take a picture of where's Waldo instead, where's Lou. And so I got to spend some time with Alfred and his family, and we had a really good time. We started taking or at least attempting to lose the jitters in producing more content with Laud Times podcast. And we did so by, interviewing some people. I ran into a lot of people that I knew yesterday, which was great. People that, have followed the podcast now and came up to me and asked, just to say what's up. We ran by the media team by the club came up to us and they knew, what the pod was. So it was really cool from that perspective to, what we're doing with this podcast and this community that, it's showing some of the effort that we're putting into it. So Alfred, talk to me about the game vibes as we were heading into the game and the people and the atmosphere that Tigres Femenil brought out.
Well, first off, you're being too modest. You got to give yourself more credit, man. We were when we were outside and when we went inside the stadium, you were just saying hi left and right, man. Like everybody was just stopping you. You're from the podcast, so to me it was amazing to see how everybody's starting to recognize you specifically. And like I told you yesterday, I think I need your autograph before you become too big. But yeah, no, it was great. I actually enjoyed it. Obviously, we went with our families, and Tigres Femenil is something that since it started, I hadn't been able to watch any of the Tigres Femenil games live. So I haven't been back to Mexico since 2019, but even back then, like I didn't get a chance to actually go to a Tigres Femenil game. So this was my first Tigres Femenil game live, and I enjoyed it much. It was great to see that the fan base showed up. I mean, obviously not the entirety of the stadium was opened up. It was just the bottom section, but I believe a good 80% of that section was full, and it was mostly Tigres. So it was very exciting to see that there's support also for the women's team, just like there is for the men's team. And what better than to be there with you, with a good friend. As far as the game goes, it wasn't bad in the beginning. At least the first few minutes, I felt like it was a lack of concentration. They got him in out of position. Greta is getting blamed, for both goals, but I believe that just collectively, the team, was kind of nervous in the beginning, but once they settled in, I thought that they made a fair, competitive game. The opposition's goalie, Sims, I forget what her last
Mhm.
name is. Man, she was
Hence
stopping everything.
HINC.
Yeah.
Made her debut too.
Yeah, so I mean, heck, she had a great debut against us, unfortunately. But I mean, we could have gone up in the first half easily, 2-1, 3-1. It was unfair that first goal was called offside. So it was just things were against us, I believe. That second half, though, I'll let Lou talk about it because it was a mess, and it starts in the bench with Mila.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, after the first 10 minutes, the team settled in and was able to establish their talent level on the field. And it was demonstrated by chances being created. Ovalle was able to fly down the left flank. Uh, Demby had, clear chances as well. We were able to, ping the ball around on them. And then, second half, a complete different game. So, Lou, talk to me about your experience arriving to the stadium. I know you've been in, to the Shell Energy Stadium a few times now. And, the atmosphere that you experienced by the fan base showing out to support Tigres Femenil in the Summer Cup.
Well, Shell Energy is becoming like my second favorite stadium. It feels like a second home now. It seems like almost every game we have there, we have good experiences. Our fans feel comfortable there. Um, it's easy to get in and out. Parking's great. It's a good venue. I like it. I thought the matchup was great as well. The what we saw on the pitch, it was worth it to me. It's a good experience to go out there and see the Amazonas. I had a chance to see them when they came here to Austin. They played against the University of Texas and Austin Elite. So I'm glad. I try to support them every time they come to the states. I think it's important for the fan base to get behind them. The the positives on as far as the game's concerned, it feels like we shot ourselves in the foot. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but in a lot of ways, we gave up an early goal. Um, and then the second goal was just defensive errors on our part. But if you take the 90 minutes altogether, it's positive because at this point, I think we're we can confidently say that we can compete against any team in the world, right? Obviously, Houston Dash is not a world beater or anything, but there was good stretches of the game where we dominated them, right? We had possession, we were generating more chances, taking more shots. So that's definitely a positive thing. I think if we tweak some things, we can improve. As far as the tournament's concerned, I think it's over. We're going to be out of it. I don't see us continuing, but it's a good learning experience for the better tournament coming up, right? Which is going to be CONCACAF. So that's I think it's going to be something we can learn from. The negatives continues to be Milagros Martinez. I mean, you can't possibly be watching this game and think that the solutions off the bench are Belen Cruz and Nayeli Rangel. There's there's just isn't a scenario where you say I gotta pull out Thembi, who was one of the better players, and bring in Belen Cruz. And
If you're gonna do it or pull her out, you bring her for Jocelyn Montoya, who's had goals and assists in the last few games.
it was the game for Montoya. It was the game for Montoya, and it was a game for Natalia Colin early in the second half. Natalia Colin should have been there. If you read the game, Houston Dash is a physical team. They press hard. You need speed. You don't bring in slower players, right? You don't offset their speed by bringing in two slower players that don't have the pace. So I mean, it's extremely frustrating, man, to see our coach sabotage us like that. Um, yeah, you have weapons on the bench that you can utilize, and you just don't do it. So that's frustrating. And like I've said before, I don't see Mila Martinez improving. She's extremely stubborn as a coach, and this is I think as a fan base, we're all fed up with her antics, and everything else. The other negative is, I gotta say, is at times some of our players were not pressing hard. You look at the second goal. It's Belen Cruz losing a pass that was, anybody, any football player can bring down, and she loses it, but then doesn't come back and press. You look at the ball that the goalkeeper served. There's 7 attacking players from Houston, and we only had 5 defending it. So even with some patience, they probably could have turned that into a goal anyway. And Mayor and Belen Cruz are just sitting back, kind of ball watching, not chasing the ball. So there's some concerns there that Mila continues to allow certain players to play, and they're not giving it their 100%. Some of our positioning on defense is not great. You saw it with on that last play with Ferral trying to clear a ball with her feet when it should have been just headed out. And then, Greta Espinosa not being aware of who she has attacking her, right? You could have easily played the offside trap there and neutralized that attack. So some of that is on the coaches still, though, because that's the kind of stuff you look at in film and you talk about it during the week and you say, hey, step it up or we're bringing in the next person. We have the personnel to sub anybody who's not giving it 100%, and we're just not doing it. So there's a lot there that we need to discuss. But if our front office is a mess, it kind of just trickles down, right, and it reflects on our coaching staff as well.
It goes down to the less things of priority in terms of settling things. One thing that you mentioned about the pace, I thought that even though the Dash had gone through a bad stretch, there's still a clear difference in the physicality aspect of the NWSL versus the Liga MX Femenil, and specifically Tigres being one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. That I feel like we got outworked physically. Ordonez wore out our defense, and I stated that earlier in a tweet. Being there live, she was, bodying up our defenders. She had good pace. She had some shots on goal. Obviously, she scored a goal. Some of their midfielders also, just higher intensity. And, you mentioned the press aspect. I feel like only certain players stepped up to the task. And I think it was more so due to the fact of her familiarity with the American game. Like I thought Anika, even though she didn't have the best game, the intensity was there. Mari Carmen, yellow card right off the bat, willing to, defend her teammate, just knew what was at stake. I think also the options, man, I've talked about it in the past. You cannot continue to have as your first option off the bench when you want a different attacking option is to pull off your forward, whoever it may be. In this case, it's been Alison Gonzalez. And then your immediate, domino effect after that is to push Mayor up to be the forward and then bring in somebody behind her to play. In this case, it was Nayeli Rangel, who is not the best position for her to play, even though she does produce offensive aspect, and more so in set pieces. I think it's just not a good look. So it just further validates my opinion on the fact that we need a forward, we need a top-notch forward to come in, start for our team, provides, balls into the box for her to finish, a more physical player with a lot more fire punch to, take on a player physically, also in the long game and, play the ball over the top and beat the defenders in the Liga MX Femenil, as well as this would have been a great opportunity to showcase that with a attacking option. And so to push Mayor up, which she's done so much for the team, but we see that on the men's side as well, right? Like we need to be more strategic of how we're using the players. And if your natural option is to remove Alison and put Mayor at the forward position and then move players around behind it who are not the best options offensively, then it just doesn't really do well for the game plan. And I think that obviously that's on Milagros Martinez. That's also on the board for not bringing another player. And so to me, that's a key area that needs to be addressed. I know Jenny Hermoso is going to come back, but you can write it out and maybe give her the option to play up top and don't allow her to come back down like as she normally does when she plays behind the attacker. In this case, it's been Alison or sometimes Mayor. Though I think that that could be an option, but ultimately we need some help offensively because, 3 out of the 5 subs that she made were defensive substitution with Jimena Lopez, Natalia Colin, and Nayeli Rangel because their natural position is a central defensive midfielder.
And then Jimena Lopez at left fullback, which we've talked about, does not work.
Good.
So the whole thing was just off. You lost pace too there in a really humid game where it was
hot.
It was hot, hard to get up, even walk up the stairs. I can't imagine those poor girls running for 90 minutes, and then you get subs like that. Where, to your point, Arnoldo, like that issue plagues both the men and the women in Liga MX. They struggle against athletic teams that like to press intensely and high, that are very physical. They just get bothered. I mean, like Tigres, when you get teams like that they're playing a very athletic team that's very fast, that presses them, they get bothered and messes up their game. And it's because the style of play in the league in Liga MX is a little more technical and not as athletic. And so you see it on both sides too. I see Tigres improving on that aspect, having played some of these teams from north of the border, but it's, I think, something that we need to improve as a whole on both leagues, Liga MX Femenil and Liga MX men's side.
Yeah, and the sad thing though is like one of the points that you made not too long ago was that you move on because you don't expect us to move on and score over 3 goals against the Kansas team, Kansas City or Kansas team,
Kansas City.
Kansas City team, who is really good, one of the better teams, and you're expected to put more than 3 goals on them, which is a very, very tough task, and expect a combination of results in the Houston and Pachuca game for them to even have a chance to advance. And one of the things that like stuck to me, what you were talking about, was like you learn and you move on from this. And I can't seem to come to terms with that because this was a great opportunity, man. Like you've done everything in the most successful way at the domestic level in your league, and you have a chance to expose your players, expose the team and the coaching staff to a higher talent pool, to continue to establish yourselves as a dominant team in the region. And that was one of the things that Carlos Valenzuela talked about in the press conference. They want Tigres Femenil to have the biggest audience and fan base in all of the United States, which they could easily do by how many people follow women's soccer and how much attachment they've had to Tigres Femenil specifically with the success that it's had. And we know that when teams win, it's easier to get a fan base. And when you're that successful, it's hard for me to come to terms with like, you got to learn and move on from this when we have to wait another year for this to happen. Yeah. And we don't know if it's going to happen again because it was the first time. We expected to, right? Because the league is growing and the partnership is great for both leagues, but we're not sure of that, right? And because financially, it might not produce the same as the Leagues Cup might produce for both leagues. So to me, it is just difficult to bear with that and know that you wasted an opportunity by making wrong decisions that have been exemplified in the past with your coaching staff and your games that you've managed at the domestic level and how you've managed the team and the selections of the players that take on the field. So it's just hard for me to process that.
Yeah. I was trying to be positive about it, Arnoldo, but you put a negative spin on it, and I applaud you for that.
Remember, we went negative, positive, negative. So we got to bring it back to positive.
It's like the battery sequence, negative, positive.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I'm channeling my stand and deliver.
But we can agree, right, that this team feels like with some tweaking and a new coach can compete with just about anybody. Did you guys get that impression?
Absolutely. I think that, we've talked about it. Mila Martinez, she'll make one correction, and then it seems better, slightly, and then we go back to the same crap that's not working.
Bro, why is Jocelyn Montoya not playing? She's one of the fastest players in the league. came off a great game.
Oh man, yeah, dude.
Okay, let me speak to that. As somebody who was not at the stadium, who was watching on TV,
Sorry, Dennis.
I've noticed that Ovalle has been kind of rotating some in games recently. Like I'm seeing her more out on the right, kind of floating centrally at times. I think it's interesting. I kind of like it. Kind of, keeps the defenders on their toes. I think last night would have been a great opportunity to try her as a 10 just because of her pace and her playmaking. I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020, but like I think anybody could have told you based on how the dash play and how physical and aggressive they were that Mayor was not the right choice. And I think maybe playing a 3 of Thembi, Montoya, and Ovalle, whatever that looks like, and have the ball like rotate under Allison, I think that would have been better because you have the speed for that and they could, press well. Because I'm sorry, Mayor just didn't offer anything to me. And I still cannot get over the fact, I told y'all this in our little group thread earlier, but I still cannot get over the fact that she had a wide open opportunity at goal. And I don't remember what minute it was, but she was coming off the left. The ball came to her feet. And instead of shooting, when she had like 2 seconds to shoot, she tries a back heel pass. I don't understand that in the slightest thing, and it drives me absolutely insane. The other thing, too, that I'll speak about the game is the first goal. That's on the players. I mean, everybody looks so slow, and I know that it was kind of weird how it all happened, but like Greta was just kind of jogging like when the ball went past her, and I don't know. And
that was Mayor too, Dennis.
I know
because Mayor hinted at going at that player, defending that player, and Greta backed off, thinking Mayor was going to be there, but instead Greta took off. I don't know why. She took off further up the pitch, and now Greta was left in no man's land, so she's having to defend too, and so she got left in the middle. And the only fault she had in that play is that she didn't slide on the pass. She needed to slide on that pass. But
yeah, everybody just looks so slow there, and it's like you can't do that in the second minute of a game that you have to win. I'm sorry, Houston's not that good. Relative in the league standings, they're like 13th in NWSL this year. That was the game that you had to win in order to have any sort of chance. And this honestly, it's a pretty dumb format of Summer Cup where you can win your group and not even advance to the semifinal. Who thought that was a good idea? That you have 5 groups and you decide, hey, only the top 4 make it.
The same people that thought that Tigres playing in the Pacific Northwest was a good idea, or Xolos playing in New York most of their games.
Probably,
yeah. So I agree, but God, you mentioned the fact that Ovalle has become a more, developed more skill set by playing, more instances on the wide.
She's a roamer now.
Yeah, bro. Like, she's your best player. Let her have the ball at her feet in all areas of the pitch. If she wants to tuck in and play behind the forward, let her do that. And then you have another fast player like Montoya coming off the bench and taking the left wing or the right wing because Thembi can play on both sides. So it was just a big missed opportunity. And it sucks for the fan base because we showed out and, to support the team, and we're going to continue to support the team. That's not in question. But it's a missed opportunity by a coaching staff that has shown you that it continues to make mistakes by coaching the best team in Mexican football on the Femenil side.
And the press conference pic after the game says it all.
Body language. Smiling, and your players are like defeated because they know what that means for them. You're telling me some of these players are, if not all players, are going into this game knowing that they have a chance to be recruited into one of the best leagues in the world. And that was their chance to shine and continue to move on because they have the squad to do it.
Yeah, I said it earlier. It hurts a lot more when you know that you should have won the game and you had the tools to outplay them, but you just shot yourself in the foot. That's when it hurts the most because there was, out of the 90 minutes that we played, 60 of those minutes were ours for sure.
Yeah.
And so we had that game. We had it. We just let it go.
And then to add to the cherry on top, a former Rayadas player, beautiful chip beautiful chip over Cecilia Santiago.
That was
who-
on Cecia Santiago. She should have come out a lot sooner, and she hesitated twice coming out.
Alfred and I were like on that side, very close, and we thought she was going to go the first time because Olivieri is not the fastest player, so we thought she was going to have enough time. She hesitated and went, twice.
Yeah.
Wild.
Just bad.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, getting off topic or going back to our previous talk. Look who's on through the NA right now.
Yeah, dude, he's making the rounds.
He's making the media rounds.
He was on Fox. He was on Fútbol al Día, where I love that he said to Willy Gonzalez, "¿Me estás amenazando o qué?"
Yeah.
Love that.
That was an indirect amenaza by Willie. I mean,
Oh,
Willie knows what he's
yeah.
doing. Oh, hey, dude, you're gonna get blacklisted by everybody. Kind of like, watch out, better shut up.
Yeah,
And
terrible.
Siboldi told him, if Mauricio Doener and Mauricio Culebro weren't too busy hiding in a cave somewhere in the Rayones over there, in Rayones Nuevo León, would be great to see them step up and say something to defend our club.
And that's
Culebro's-
another thing. Why aren't Mauricio Culebro or Donner over here in Tigres Week? I mean,
Well, they're probably in Houston, but they're probably at the Astros games.
Well, Tigres men's side arrived today. They arrived today. They probably should have arrived like within the last hour or 2 hours ago.
Last time I saw Culebro in public was at Game 6 or 7 of the American League Championship Series last October. So
Oh wow, good little note there.
you're just adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I'm not the only one that's being negative here. Hey, we've made it an hour and 11 minutes, about to be an hour and 12 minutes, with now 163 people watching our podcast episode.
shut up.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Send in your comments, questions, things that you want us to bring up. Obviously, we're open to that. But I just want to mention that in this hour and 12 minutes, that we have not named one player who's been a star of our show. And I'm not going to name him just because I want to keep the streak going to see if anybody unconsciously brings him up or subconsciously brings him up while speaking on the pod. So really interesting note there that we haven't spoken about.
When Culebro and Doener pack their stuff and start leaving, they can grab Mila Martinez and Luis Quiñones with them.
There we go.
One on each hand, bro, as they walk off.
You know what, though? He gets a gold star for the week. He hasn't fucked anything up yet.
There it is.
Edgar said he hasn't burned the building down. That's a gold star right there.
Good
Player of the
noodle
week.
star.
For now. Yeah.
Wait till Wednesday.
He gets the winning goal and winning assist, I bet.
He's-
Moving on, fellas. Predictions for Kansas City Amazonas. When is the game that's supposed to happen? Do
That
we
is
take a break?
Thursday night.
Thursday night. So, Lou, I know you're not very positive. You said that we're not moving on. Do we think that we score on them? Do we think that we get embarrassed? What are we thinking?
I'm going to go 2-0 KC.
Ouch.
Yeah, we got Mila Martinez coaching us, Edgar. It's a statement on our coaching, not on our players.
No, yeah. And I mean, this is a question I wanted to bring up to you guys, but I kind of feel like, the answer is pretty obvious. Is she taking this tournament seriously? No, because she doesn't even take the league seriously.
Okay. I hate to stop the predictions, but we got news.
What's the news?
Press release.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh.
PR. They're doing their job.
Press release.
Everybody who's watching, take a second to read the press release. Tigres has put out a press release regarding Siboldi's information.
Dang, in the middle of his Duda appearance, too. Sheesh.
Well, now it makes sense because they're not screwing over the television that's broadcasting them.
I'm 3
Ooh.
paragraphs in and they haven't said anything.
Yeah, what? I'm not impressed. This is
It's an empty
Yeah,
press release.
it's a word salad. Empty calories.
Yikes. Lou, I'm gonna let you read that while we continue doing the predictions, so you can break it down for us. Or
Sounds good.
Alfred, I think Alfred's still reading. So, Dennis, predictions for the Kansas City game versus Las Amazonas.
I'd like for us to go offensiva all the way and run like a 3-2-5 or something, but that's not going to happen with Mila. Kansas City, I've actually seen a few of their games just in passing this year. I don't know how many people on their team are gone for World Cup, but it may not matter because their attack is amazing. They're second in the league. They score a lot of goals. We're probably going to lose like 3-0 or 4-0, honestly. Like, they're good.
Okay. I don't know the prediction. I don't follow Kansas City. I just don't want to get embarrassed. So I think they're going to come out with pride. I think that they're going to have a good game. I don't think it's going to be enough. So I'm going 1-1 tie. Alfred, I know I saw your reaction after reading. So
You want my prediction, or you want me to jump into the statement?
I don't know. I don't know at this point.
Do the prediction first, and then we can talk about the statement.
Okay.
I'm pessimistic. I think I'm hopeful that Ovalle will get her goal in, which will keep scouts, looking out for her. So 3-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lou, we'll start with your prediction and then break it down for us, and then we'll bounce it over to Alfred because I know he's got some words to say.
So this is only for the Puebla game, right?
No,
Kansas City.
Oh yeah, so I went 2-0 Kansas City.
Oh, sorry, I went back to
I think Edgar. Edgar, did you say yours?
my mistake, Edgar. Sorry.
No, I mean, I hope we just don't get embarrassed. I'm hoping for a tie, 0-0, 1-1.
And don't they go to penalties
Mhm.
after?
Crap. Well, we'll lose in penalties, but let's
We'll get a point.
Let's go out that way.
Sure. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about this statement.
Lou, you got it broken down?
Yeah, so basically the statement says that the front office informed Robert Siboldi that his contract wasn't being renewed, and in recent days, it doesn't say how long ago, but I guess some days back, he asked the front office to compensate him financially, and the front office is saying in this press release, that there is no reason, no merit to basically compensate him at all financially, and that Siboldi was also expecting an apology from the club for the information that was being spread around, and the club does not feel responsible for apologizing to him. They said that internal policy dictates that they do not have to answer to any rumors or anything floating around as far as rumors are concerned, and so they have no comment basically on anything that got said today. They're focused on the current tournament and the tournaments that we're playing in, and they want to thank the fans for the support. So if it sounds like I said nothing, it's because they basically said nothing.
Yeah.
Smells like a lawsuit coming.
I've got a problem with that closing statement in the press release, where, I mean, I guess it says, we want to appreciate the fans for their support. Neither the fans nor the institution deserve projects based on lack of trust or something. I don't trust any of these people. You kept Mila Martinez in her seat for no reason. You kept Sancho there for how many years? And you want to talk about trust? You signed Joaquin without like an open slot, and you haven't done anything about it. I haven't even gotten into that.
You hired Piojo Herrera.
Yeah.
Oh, this hit a nerve with Edgar. I haven't heard him so fired up before.
There's just, this whole situation has made me question a lot of decisions that we've made or that have just gone out there. I mean, we can even go back to Jordi Caicedo, like kind of the way they pushed him around.
Sporting de Gijón legend now. He's in Europe.
That's wild, by the way. I was shocked when I heard that. I thought they were talking about a different guy. Same name.
Well, no. and speaking of Europe, who just got named captain of Udinese in Italy? Florian Thauvin.
Champion du monde.
Chapan Which, by the way, speaking of lawsuits, if we're about to enter into a legal fight, I don't trust the club to win that because when they had to deal with that with Devon, they lost down. They had to pay him like $3 million. So
En Pulido.
yeah, Empolido. So good luck.
Well, this is how the club's going to play it out. They're going to say, you know what? We didn't spread the rumors. He was not renewed because we didn't trust this project.
But see,
And that's
and
on him.
it says
But
that right there.
the problem is that somebody did spread the rumors.
Yeah.
David Medrano from Azteca and all these guys that were talking, they did not make this up on their own. Antonio Nelly, who says he saw whatever and he heard the audios, these guys did not make these guys did not make it up. They didn't get together and say, "Hey, we're making it up." So somebody possibly from our club, more than likely, leaked this out to members of the press, certain members of the press, not all of them, but certain. And there's going to be a trail, man. There's going to be a trail because more than likely Siboldi's going to sue us, and there is going to be a trail of information. And that trail, my question is to you guys, is it going to lead back to us? Who's it going to lead to? Who's going to take the fall on this? Is it going to be an intern? Edgar, you're not working for them currently, are you?
Gotta wait. Wait until they clean house.
But I mean, it's a coward statement by the front office, right? Saying, we got nothing to do with it. That's on them. There's nothing there. It's just full of hot air.
The keywords for me are el motivo fue debido a pérdida de confianza. So the motive was loss of trust or lack of trust.
So, to me, none of the rumors were answered, with this. Like Lewis said, all of the media came out with it. It was dispersed to several of, the different protagonists of journalism, sports journalism in Mexico. And they all had the same story. And it's the same story that Siboldi put out in his statement today. In this whole statement, they did not address that. They addressed I guess you could say I'm sorry, the days that he was fired, don't match with what Siboldi is saying or saying that he didn't have a contract. They address that. And then they go and say in that fifth or sixth paragraph, it says that neither the president nor basically neither Culebro nor Donaire put out any of these rumors, and that it's not in their politics to put out any rumors. But they did not address the rumors in itself. And they're not saying, it wasn't somebody from the club. They're just saying it's not part of the politics. So I think they're going to come back and smear somebody else. Could very well be Sancho, since he's already out the door. Might as well smear him. Mm-hmm. So it's bad.
Yeah. And from the reactions that I'm seeing online, everybody's just agreeing with us. It's just a statement full of nothing.
If it was Sancho, man, drag him under the bus.
Jesus.
Drag him under the bus for being a jerk. You know what I'm saying? If it was him, put him on blast, man.
But give us the proof. No. I don't want him to drag him under the bus without any proof.
Yeah,
I want them to show us proof.
And there will be eventually proof, right? There's a trail here of information, and when there's information, there's data, and data, it leaks, it gets out. So
la big data
de Pello Maldonado. Hey, has Pello come out at all? I need to hear.
No, he's like
he went live. He went live and finished his live like 10 minutes before Siboldi's statement came out. So unfortunately, he had already gone live, and then he just basically reposted it. Like everyone else.
He's got to be careful with what he says because he's got a new gig, my man. Yeah. He's got to research a little bit before he puts his word out there.
Yeah, he's not in a position right now to stir the pot too much.
Yeah. That's what I'm set on, like pérdida de confianza. So what is that? Like you don't believe in the project, pérdida de confianza because he leaked information or his coaching staff leaked information. A lot of nothing. So tough, fellas. But we got to move on. before we make this pod super long. Leagues Cup preview, or you guys want to talk about Joaquin Pereira?
Well, we talked about him last week, right? We mentioned some of his pros, his how good he is one-on-one defensively, how elite he is in the air.
What number
But
do you
we'll
think he's
see.
taking? 2? Oh, that's not a
Number
bad. Oh yeah, because Samir's staying, right?
Yeah, I don't know what other numbers are available off the top of my head, but I know number 2 has been vacant for quite a while.
I'm gonna be the Elmo guy. Let it burn.
Why is he on the plane?
I'll tell you why, Dennis. Because I'm going to mention him for a second time. I think he's not going to be the sacrifice foreigner. I think it's going to be either one of the other guys, which is Carioca or Luisao. And I don't think it's going to be Carioca. I think it's going to be Luisao. I think somebody is going to be willing to take him on. And that's why he's getting the minutes and the playing time to see that what he can do to the team, even though, he's got a nice little assist to Mr. Nico Ibanez. And I couldn't hold that in.
That was almost messed up.
Stats.
So I don't know. It opens up the possibility that Samir might stay and may not move on. So I believe that that means that Luisao would be the next guy out the door. But who knows? He's traveling to the Leagues Cup. Samir Caetano is, and eventually Joaquim is gonna follow along after he does his medical and physical exams and then gets his visa to travel to the States. So realistically, we probably won't see him until Tigres advances into the next round. And that's if we take care of business by beating Puebla and beating Inter Miami. And I think that's when we would obviously see him. I think, this is a great way to work him in. If he gets a few minutes, not a few minutes, or start a half, whatever the case might be, it's a good way. But I think that Samir goes because he's on your roster. And until you finally make a decision of who you're going to move away from, you got to take advantage of your roster. Because if, something bad happens in the Puebla game and Guido or Diego Reyes goes out, you got to play Samir.
And luckily, you can get away with that in Leagues Cup because you're not confined to the restrictions of the league with the foreigner rule. So
exactly.
I guess.
I think you're looking at the glass half full, Arnoldo. Saying that he's being brought because in case somebody gets injured. What if this is just another extension of the shit show? What if Samir already has them? By the telling them, hey, you guys can't do anything. You can't fire me. Because I have a contract. It's a mess all over the place.
Yeah.
Sell him to River Plate. River Plate literally just bought somebody, or Miami just bought somebody from River Plate, one of their defenders. He can be that replacement.
He gets paid. He's like a top 5 salary on the roster.
River Plate can't afford him.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best paid in the league without question. Unfortunately. A lot of our stupid defenders have been highest paid in the league or close to. I mean, Igor was also up there. That's why we struggled to offload him.
Well, typically at Tigres, you have high wages, so that's already expected. But I think that's where maybe Antonio Sancho comes into play, and maybe he didn't have the assertiveness to negotiate better contracts when he was hiring or making new signings. But who knows? Leagues Cup, as we mentioned, kicks off here in Houston this Wednesday with our game against Puebla. It's going to be a good showcase for our squad and more so for Mr. Paunovic to continue to develop his style of play, to continue for us to see the new motivation by the players under Oscar Ortega. I couldn't get on the interview, man. I called him Miguel Ortega by accident, and then I called him Professor Ortega. But Oscar Ortega and the physical trainer. So it's going to allow us to see where the players are at after, a small break from the league and the games. And, give us a chance to make the brand look good and possibly win it with all of the stuff that's surrounding the team at the moment. So Puebla here in Houston, 8:30 on Wednesday. Thoughts on the game? Obviously, Edgar, I know you're not going to be making it. Lou, are you going to be there?
No, I won't be.
Okay, so we'll have Dennis, Alfred, and myself at the game. Thoughts on the game against Puebla? What do we expect? Easy dub, not easy dub? What are we thinking? Go ahead, Dennis.
I think the first half of that game is really important because Puebla has something to play for. Their chances of anything in this League's Cup depend on this game because they already played Miami and they lost 2-0 on Saturday. They didn't look particularly good, and so I would expect them to be very aggressive from the get-go in those first 45, and the boys just need to make sure to withstand that. I would start Ibanez because I'm saving Gignac for the money game on Saturday.
Yes.
I would do that, no questions asked. If you bring APG on, you bring him on second half for a few minutes just to get a little cardio in, and hopefully you can provide something. But you don't start Andre at the risk of the juiciness of the Miami game. So
one thing to add to that real quick, Dennis.
Yeah.
Shell Energy Stadium is open, so it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be humid.
Yeah.
There's a possibility with the Shell and the Energy Stadium having a roof that will play inside with AC. So that makes a lot of sense to start Nico Ibanez on Wednesday.
Yeah. I'd like to see Lainez back in some way, shape, or form. I hopefully this week of getting to train caught him up to speed. Maybe he starts, but maybe doesn't play the whole 90. I don't know what to expect from Puebla outside of them just being aggressive. They haven't been great in the league so far, from what I've seen. So we should be able to handle it pretty convincingly. And the other added boost is that Nahuel should be starting. Hopefully, we'll see what Bonovich does, but he is eligible, and by all indications, he should be getting the run. Although if he does stick with Tapia, I don't mind it because Tapia was awesome in the one game he played before, and he was also awesome in the All-Star game last week. So I think we're pretty happy with the goalkeeper situation either way. So shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully.
It's a big test for us, and no disrespect to Puebla, it's a game for us to establish our identity as a team and allow players to get fit and work them into the rotation and lineup of games that we're going to be having. Alfred, go ahead.
It's a must win. It's a must win, especially with everything that just transpired today and that's going to continue to transpire through the week. It's obvious that the players are going to hear about it or already heard about it. It's going to be in their heads, but they need to show out. Just for the sake of the fan base, for the sake of the team's health, mental health, they need this win. So that being said, I agree with everything that Dennis said, and I would even go as far as also saying that we need fresh legs all around, like in the entire field. So Cordova instead of Bruneta, I would also bring in Chuy Garza instead of Angulo. So kind of like a repeat of the lineup in the last game, except for Gignac. Put in Ibanez for Gignac. And I do foresee that we get a positive result. Hopefully, good enough win that it scares off Miami for Saturday.
Okay, so that means that we get the trio. If he repeats the lineup, we get the trio of Vigon, Carioca, and Nando Gorriarán in the middle of the field.
I would go with that. That would be okay.
Okay, and Marcelo, Ibanez, and Cordova up top.
Marcelo, Ibanez, Cordova, and Quiñones, or
no, that would.
No, right, because you have the trio, right? Yeah, you're right.
In the middle.
Mm-hmm. And ideally, what would be great is if we can find a way to score goals in the beginning and pull Rafa out and save his legs for Saturday, because he's gonna have to play that whole 90 against that that Miami midfield.
Oh yeah, bro. Against Busquets.
Carioca versus Busquets.
It's gonna be good. And
boludo, what a game we're gonna have!
Not to get too ahead to the Miami game, but they've got some young guys that they brought into that midfield. Redondo's a name, Roja is another name, and they have another guy that is from their academy. They're all really interesting.
Kramaski?
No,
Is it
Kramaski's on the Olympic team with the
Mm.
U.S., so he won't be there. And neither will Diego Gomez because he's about to be sold to Brighton. But some of these other guys they brought in, and then they have the new defender. So they've got some younger pieces, fresher legs, and that'll be really interesting to see how that matches up against our guys.
Edgar, thoughts, expectations, Puebla game?
So I don't know. Puebla's going to be tough. They're a really competitive team, but I think we'll be good. Like you guys mentioned, I think we need to win. We have home field advantage. We need to take advantage of that. On that note, I have a request more for Saturday, but I expect everyone to be wearing yellow. You'll be getting a wedgie from me.
Yes. We can wear any other color on Wednesday.
Saturday, you have to be wearing yellow, but
And-
Wednesday you can wear whatever color you want.
To add on to that, Alfred mentioned that yesterday at the game to me, is that there were so many people wearing the black orange jersey, which is fine. It's a cool jersey, but I think especially when we're in the States, I think that yellowing out the stadium. I know that we don't even get it in at the Volcan, but you would expect to see a lot of yellow. Like I mentioned, Wednesday they're going to be wearing the new blue kit. So if you want to wear your new blue kit, want to wear your blue jersey, by all means. But obviously, feel free to do what you want. But I think that the NRG game, your request is very valid, and I'm behind it to get the yellow as much as possible in the stands, especially because from what it looks like, we at the moment there's over 50,000 tickets sold. That's closer to the 50 than more so than the 55. So I think that there's still room for people to get on board and watch them, and I think that there's going to be a lot of last minute purchases, and it all depends on the Wednesday game that they have against Puebla. It must be a convincing victory, an exciting victory for the fan base to say, hey, I'm willing to drop another $60-$75 just for the ticket, plus 40 for the parking, plus another $700 according to David Molina, who took to the NRG Stadium last time to buy drinks. So I think that people are going to be excited if there's reason to be behind, and the team does so with the performance on the field. Lou,
Shameless plug. If anybody needs a ticket, I have an extra one. Please let me know. I'm not joking. I need to get rid of it. Thank
Reach
you.
out to Dennis.
Lou, thoughts and lineup selection or preference as we head into the first game of the Puebla Leagues Cup.
Well, Puebla struggled against Miami. I think they got dominated pretty much the entire game. If Miami had been a little more assertive up top, that easily could have been a pretty nasty blowout. So I think it's going to be a comfortable game for us. I don't like to get overconfident because you know how we are. We play to the level of our competition. But on paper, it should be a comfortable game. So I'm with the guys. Using sort of a alternate lineup is the best way to go. That way we save our best weapons for Inter Miami, where we need to really show, and more lights will be on us. So I think the Saturday game is going to be the one that's going to probably decide who finishes at the top as well. So win comfortably against Puebla. You don't need a blowout or anything. Just win it and then go out and put your best 11 versus Miami on Saturday.
Fair. So where do we see Tigres in this Leagues Cup? Just getting close to wrapping it up here.
We talked about it in our little mini thread, us five. We're on the easier side of the bracket. I've kind of looked at it recently, and I feel like it's pretty even, honestly. But we're definitely on the easier side because all the heavy hitters of our league are on the other side. Rayados, America, Chivas. If all of them were to advance, they would all be on that side. You're looking at potential matchups in knockouts against Miami again, Columbus, Pachuca, Cincinnati on our side. And those would be tough in their own ways, but, not as tough as like in America or Rayados specifically. So
Isn't Cruz Azul on our side of the bracket?
I don't remember if I like correctly, but I really want us to go really far. If we can win that group, we'll be hopefully in a good spot because the second place team of the group that we would play next round in the round of 32 is going to be either Toronto or I already forgot who the other team was.
New York.
Yes.
Red Bulls, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like Red Bulls, they've been decent this year.
Toronto's very winnable.
Yeah,
I want to go to Toronto, guys. So let's push for Toronto.
That would be cool. Shout out Mike Dio because he'd actually be able to go see the team in person. Man, I could see us in the quarters at least, depending on matchups, and if we can go farther than that, that'd be even better. But you have to do better than last year. There's no excuse, honestly, because it's a little bit easier, and you're not having to play a rivalry game in the round of 16 that you could have won had the referees been competent.
Yep. Anybody would like to add to that before we head off?
No, I think we're poised for a deep run on this one. I think we got what it takes. Teams looking good. We're gelling. I think anything less than a final would be disappointing, to be honest with you.
Got to take advantage of the fact that a MLS team won it, and we can be the first team to win it on the Mexican side. I have us going to the final, and I think I had us going against Cruz Azul in the semis. So I don't know if that means they're on our side or not our side.
Yeah, me too.
Ultimately, great opportunity on all fronts to take advantage of this cup. I think the cup improved from last season to this season, and as far as like the format and the selection of hubs for teams and having the advantage of selecting where you can be, and even for America to come into the round of 16 in the next stage, that's great for them as well. So I think overall improvements from last season. The games have been one-sided, more towards the MLS as far as victories, and but the big bodies haven't came into the picture yet. There's still the bigger teams to show up and participate. So we'll see where that leads us. Lastly, before we head off, any from the vault moments for the pod?
24 years ago, Tuca's first run as our coach, which started that run for our first final against Pachuca. First of two finals, league finals against Pachuca.
Is that part of that picture that I shared on the group?
Which one? I don't know.
The one with the whole team. I asked you guys to recognize them.
Ooh,
Is that the same?
No. That was the one you sent was 2000, right?
Yeah. He comes the next year.
Yeah, I think he came in the following season, not the next year, but the following season.
No, because Tuca was in the picture, so I think it was that one.
It was that one.
So it was his first season then.
It was his first season. Yeah.
Yeah, because then Walter arrived, and Walter wore that jersey. It's that picture that you sent, because I have that jersey, number 22.
Yeah, and the finals was with the jersey that had the really tight neck, real high tight neck, almost felt like a turtleneck. That was the first final versus Pachuca with the Cookie Silvera goal against Oscar Daud.
Cookie Silvani.
Cookie Silvani, my bad.
Yeah.
But that's what started that first run, and then that kind of bled into the 2003 Apertura final, which Tuca didn't coach it, but wait, am I mistaken? Yeah.
01 was Tuca, Neri Pumpido was 03.
Neri Pumpido was 03.
Right.
So Neri Pumpido. But it was still technically Tuca's
team.
creation.
Yeah. 100%.
About a year ago from the vault, Arnoldo and I met in Portland, Oregon.
Nice.
And that game was fun. That was like Nico Lopez's last contribution to the team with that little dime he had on Guignac's goal and Angulo's little bullet header. That was a fun night.
The pizza.
That's when the bromance
the pizza
started.
at Providence Park. Oh, wee.
Yeah, one of the
get
best
a room.
pizzas.
Get a room, you two.
That pizza was definitely one of the best pizzas that I've had, and really,
as Central Americans like to say, "Tenerle un hijo, Dennis."
Crómalo.
Well, fellas, Anybody else got it from the vault moment before we head out? Well,
Nothing else.
That's going to wrap it up for us. Really good pod. Lots of discussion all around as far as what's surrounding the team, everything that's going on with the club in Houston, the Femenil side. It was a great episode. Just a lot of things that were discussed that should have been talked about and needed to be talked about. I appreciate y'all's time, fellas. Thank you to everybody who watched the pod live. Please give us a follow on our social media platforms as we continue to polish this podcast and give you better content, better, proximity to the club and everything that's surrounding the team as far as its adventure in the U.S., and just more so for the English community that we're looking to grow as we have the love for the team. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and thanks for following and sharing us, and thank you fellas for taking the time tonight as well. And we'll see some of you guys this week. I know that we got a special episodes this week, so we'll be on recording tomorrow, taking a little bit of I tweeted it out. Tomorrow we're going to be posting a Cerro de la Silla, our Mount Rushmore version of our squad, and then followed by Wednesday, covering the game. Thursday, a recap of the Puebla game, hopefully with a victory, and then Friday, a Lucas Lobos versus Walter Gaitan discussion with some of the squads that we've seen over the last decade, and just giving our different takes and opinions of some of the strengths of squads that we've had, specifically 2011, 2015, 2017, and then followed by Saturday live coverage as well, as we are at NRG Stadium covering the Tigres versus Miami game for the Leagues Cup. So thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for more content, and we appreciate your support. Till next time.
#fuera culebro.
Oh, wow.